G'day. Going to drop the Diff oil today. Now, about a ½ inch. In my mind leading up to this, I thought, yeah, it's ½ inch. Oh, I've got that plastic plug that goes in the back. That's on the live axle ones. And it was like a rubber plug, and when they went old and brittle, you'd end up putting a hole in it or something like that. And then in my previous life as a Commodore mechanic, we had the diffs with the fill plug on the back, not on the side. So I'm pretty sure it's 1 1/8 inch. So when changing your diff oil, always remember to undo your fill plug first. Because if you drain it and then you realise your fill plug's seized, or you strip it, round it, whatever, you're in a lot of trouble. So fill plug came out alright. Now funny thing is, I didn't pre-loosen these or anything, it's just luck. So the bottom diff housing carrier bolt is your drain plug on these. Also, if you're running an LSD, you need to make sure you have the right additive pack in your oil, otherwise they will chatter and bang and make horrible noises to the point where you think your diff's knackered. I did make that mistake once. This oil is actually really good. But it's been a few years. The tight ass in me says, you don't need to change it, mate. What's going on here? But it's been sitting around. Oil does degrade over time. I forgot my rags today. It also shows us this car's been looked after, because I've never changed this diff oil, which is a good sign. Now usually, that's funny because this tag here usually says high performance something something something. High performance uses approved lubricant only. Some of them used to say limited slip differential. You could also have a high performance diff without it being an LSD, and I don't know if that was a 3.07s versus a 3.08s. It had a slightly larger crown wheel or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is definitely LSD. It'd want to be. Quite thick. I don't know if it's LS90 or what the story is, but I'll find out what it takes. My lube guide tells me 8140. That's why it's taken forever to come out, because it's so thick. The exhaust has seen better days, which is a bit sad because it's a factory exhaust, so I might take it off and put something else on it. It's had a tow bar at some point in its life. I don't know who would put a tow bar on a Senator, but they have. Still got a Holden fuel filter on it. It's got the factory HSV mufflers, which have seen better days. Look, I'm quite lucky. It hasn't leaked any oil sitting here, which is fantastic for something like this, because it is a little bit sort of wet and weepy, but underneath is relatively clean. Let's put on, there we go. She's a pretty good looking car underneath. We'll get that transpan off and change all on that, I reckon. floor pans are good. There's no big dents or anything taken out of them. Some of these cars, you look at them and the floor pans look like they've been jumped over railway crossings. But she's appears to be in good nick. So apart from just some regular servicey stuff, we'll be okay. If it was really dirty, I'd probably let it sit for a bit longer, but it's actually shocked me. Again, hand tight, a little bit more is all you need. Keep your drain tray underneath while you fill, because you're going to fill to the point of overflow. And from memory, you can't fill these too fast because there's something right next to the fill plug. So with the pump setup, it's good because you can just sort of pump till it comes out. Otherwise, you've got to check your capacities and buy the, correct amount of oil. And you can get these little Tom Thumb pumps, which you can hook up to a 1 litre bottle, or you can buy 20, which can be expensive. Some bottles have got little plastic straw things that come out the top. You can squeeze them in, but I find it very difficult. The Tom Thumb pumps are about 20 bucks. They are very good. Been a cold day. This oil is giving me a workout to pump it in, that's for sure. I remember once in my VS Statesman I had, I think I just put LS90 in it without putting the right additive in it, or making sure it had the right additive in it. And you'd go around corners and it would go, 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 and crack and bang, and felt like it had a spool in it. And apparently it's just the cones in these things, they just don't like not having that additive. I do have a tube of the additive, there we go. I've got a tube of the additive, but in the lube guide, it didn't state it requires it. And usually, because Penrite do make the additive, a bit of overfull is going to be okay. Not going to kill it. The lube guide would normally say if it needs the additive, if the oil they're recommending doesn't have it in it. So if it does, I'll put it in later, but I don't think it requires it. But I'm talking 20 years ago, when I was an apprentice. The mild perfectionist in me thinks I need to move the tag out of the way so it doesn't get caught on anything if I flick up on something. And that's how you change your diff oil. And that was, what, 10 minutes if you got everything right. I know on the ground it's going to take a bit longer. You've got to hoist. I understand. But it's an easy job. And look, for the cost of it, everyone seems to neglect their diffs. I've dropped some of these before where you can take your drain plug out and nothing comes out. You've got to get a screwdriver in there to clear up any metal that's been left in there, just to get it flowing again. So now that's done, maybe we'll drop the pan.